The observation deck fell silent when the human cadet walked in. Not the respectful kind of silence, mind you. This was the uncomfortable, jaw-dropping, what in the seven moons is that kind of quiet that happens when something fundamentally wrong enters a room where it absolutely should not be. I was there. Third row, mandibles clicking nervously as I watched her scan the room with those unsettling forward-facing eyes. Predator eyes. The kind that tracked movement with an intensity that made my exoskeleton itch. Her name was Maya Reeves, according to the roster that had been circulating through the Academy's network for the past cycle. Human. Female. Origin planet. Earth. Combat specialization. Undeclared. That last part should have been our first warning. Commander Valth stood at the front of the briefing room, his scales shifting through shades of bureaucratic green as he consulted his data tablet. "Cadets," he began, his voice carrying that peculiar mix of authority and exhaustion that all military instructors seem to master. "Today marks the beginning of your tactical assessment week. You will be evaluated on speed, strategy, and survival instincts." A murmur rippled through the assembled students. Tactical assessments were notoriously brutal. Last year, a Krillian cadet had lost 2 limbs. They grew back, obviously, but still, the point stood. Valth continued, apparently oblivious to the mounting tension. "Your objective is simple. Track and neutralize the training drones in Sector 7. First team to achieve 5 confirmed eliminations wins. Any questions?" Silence. Then, because the universe has a twisted sense of humor, Maya Reeves raised her hand. Valth's inner eyelids flickered. "Yes, Cadet Reeves? Are there restrictions on methodology?" Her voice was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that makes you check your emergency exits. "Within reason," Valth replied slowly. "Standard combat protocols apply. No excessive force, no environmental destruction, no eating your partner." That last one was directed at the Vorgash contingent, who looked mildly offended. Maya nodded once, a sharp downward motion that seemed almost mechanical. "Understood, sir." The partner assignments came next, projected on the main display in that hideous fluorescent yellow that someone in administration thought was motivating. My name appeared next to Keltor, a reliable Zentarii with excellent sensory appendages and a tendency to overthink everything. He was a Morphidian, built like a cargo hauler with the personality of a particularly anxious moss colony. Big, strong, absolutely useless in anything requiring quick decisions. I watched him shuffle over to Maya, his multiple eye stalks drooping in what I recognized as preemptive resignation. "Hello, partner," he rumbled in that subsonic frequency Morphidians call speech. "I am Rix. I am very strong but not very fast. Please do not be disappointed." Maya looked up at him. Way up. Rix stood at least 3 meters tall when he bothered to straighten his posture. "That works," she said simply. "I'm fast enough for both of us." Confidence? Sure. But there was something else in her tone. Something that made my survival instincts start screaming in frequencies I didn't know I could hear. Sector 7 was a nightmare of artificial terrain designed by sadists with advanced degrees in making people miserable. Twisted metal corridors, zero visibility fog zones, gravity wells that shifted without warning. The drones themselves were military-grade training units, capable of returning fire with stunning accuracy and equipped with sensors that could detect a heartbeat from 50 meters away. The human cardiovascular system, I should mention, is absurdly loud. Their hearts pound like emergency sirens. In a stealth scenario, humans should be approximately as subtle as a supernova. We gathered at the entry point, 20 teams of nervous cadets, checking equipment and making last-minute strategy adjustments. Keltor was running diagnostics on his scanner for the 3rd time, muttering calculations under his breath. I glanced over at Maya and Rix. She was stretching. Actually, stretching, like this was some sort of recreational activity. She bent forward, pressing her palms flat against the ground with her legs straight, then rolled her shoulders in a way that looked anatomically improbable. Is she preparing for exercise? Keltor whispered, confusion coloring his vocal harmonics. I think so, I replied, watching as Maya grabbed her foot and pulled it behind her head with casual flexibility. Do humans require warm-up sequences before combat? Perhaps their muscles are inefficient, Keltor suggested. They might need to manually increase blood flow to achieve optimal performance. Maya dropped into a low crouch, then exploded upward in a vertical leap that carried her at least 2 meters off the ground. She landed silently, absorbed the impact through bent knees, and flashed a smile that showed far too many flat teeth. Ready when you are, big guy, she said to Rix. The Morphidian made a sound like grinding stone. I will try not to slow you down, small human. 3 minutes to insertion. Balth's voice crackled over the comm system. Remember, cadets, this is a test of your abilities, not a competition. Everyone knew that was a lie. Everything at the academy was a competition. Your scores determined your placement. Your placement determined your assignment. And your assignment determined whether you spent your career commanding a flagship or scrubbing plasma conduits on a waste reclamation vessel. 2 minutes. I checked my weapon. Standard issue. Pulse rifle. Probably. 1 minute. Maya had gone, completely still. Not the nervous fidgeting of the other cadets. Not even the controlled readiness of the experienced fighters. She was absolutely, unnaturally motionless, her chest barely rising with breath, her eyes half closed. 30 seconds. Keltor grabbed my arm. I have a bad feeling about this. You have a bad feeling about everything, I reminded him. Yes, but this time I really mean it. 10 seconds. 9, 8. The countdown continued. Around us, cadets tensed, weapons raised, strategies finalizing in panic-fueled last-minute adjustments. 3, 2, 1. Execute. The doors blasted open, and we poured into Sector 7 like water through a broken dam. The artificial fog hit immediately, thick and cloying, reducing visibility to maybe 10 meters. Somewhere in the distance, a drone's power cell hummed its mechanical war song. Teams scattered, each pursuing their own tactical approach. Keltor and I moved right, using his superior sensors to navigate the maze of corridors while I kept watch for threats. Contact, Keltor whispered, after maybe 2 minutes. 30 meters, elevation 4.2. I spotted it. A training drone, hovering in the intersection ahead, its optical sensors sweeping in precise patterns. Standard approach would be to find cover, coordinate our angles, and engage from 2 positions to split its targeting priority. We began moving into position when a sound cut through the fog. Not the mechanical whir of a drone, not the cautious footsteps of other cadets. A whistle, brief, sharp, almost melodic. A human whistle. The drone's sensors snapped toward the sound. Its weapon systems hummed to life, charging for engagement. Then Maya Reeves dropped from directly above it. I don't know how she got up there. I don't know how she moved through the fog without making a sound. I certainly don't know how she calculated the timing so precisely that she landed on the drone's back exactly as its sensors pointed away. But there she was, knees bent, balanced on a machine designed to be unboardable, and before it could adjust to her weight, she had jammed something, maybe a blade, maybe just her fingers. I honestly couldn't tell. Directly into its central processing port. The drone died. Not stunned, not disabled, dead, sparking and spiraling to the ground in a catastrophic system failure. Total elapsed time from whistle to kill? Maybe 3 seconds. What in the name of the void was that? Keltor breathed. Maya dropped from the falling drone, landed in a roll, and disappeared back into the fog without a sound. That, I said slowly, my combat algorithms trying desperately to process what I'd just witnessed, was a human hunting. The next kill happened 4 minutes later. We heard the commotion, multiple drones converging on a position in response to what sounded like Rix's thunderous footsteps. Obviously bait. Obviously a trap. Obviously the drones would surround the position and fire from multiple angles. Except the drones never got the chance. 3 of them moved into formation, their tactical programming executing a perfect pincer maneuver. Then, in rapid succession, each one simply stopped functioning. No warning, no weapons fire, just sudden, complete shutdown. I caught a glimpse through a gap in the fog. Maya, moving between the drones like water flowing through cracks, her hands striking with surgical precision at critical junctions and vulnerable points that shouldn't have been accessible without specialized tools. Kill 3, kill 4, kill 5. By the time Keltor and I managed our first drone elimination, using conventional tactics and approximately 3 minutes of careful positioning, Maya and Rix had already won. The assessment ended early. Valth's voice came over the comm, tight with something I'd never heard from him before. Uncertainty. All cadets returned to extraction point. Exercise concluded. Cadet Reeves and Cadet Rix are victorious. The walk back was quiet. Not the silence from before. This was the kind of quiet that happens when everyone is thinking the same thing, but nobody wants to say it out loud. We gathered in the debriefing room, still smelling like fog chemicals and adrenaline. Valth stood at the front, his scales now a troubled shade of amber. Cadet Reeves, he said carefully, please explain your tactical approach. Maya stood. If she was tired from the exercise, she didn't show it. Standard pursuit predation, sir. Make noise to drive prey into predictable patterns, then attack from an unexpected vector while they're focused on the false threat. You disabled military training drones with your bare hands, Valth pointed out. Yes, sir. How? She paused, seeming to consider her answer. Humans are good at finding weaknesses, sir. It's kind of our thing. Your thing, Valth repeated flatly. We're pursuit predators, Maya said, and I swear there was a hint of amusement in her voice. Back on Earth, we didn't have claws or armor or venom. We just had endurance and pattern recognition. So we learned to watch, to wait, and to strike exactly where it hurts most. Somebody in the back, a Thorian cadet, with more courage than sense, laughed nervously. That's a bit dramatic, don't you think? It's just training drones. Maya turned to look at him. Her expression didn't change. She didn't need to bare her teeth or flex her muscles or make any of the threat displays common to warrior species across the galaxy. She just looked at him with those predator eyes, and he stopped laughing. Training drones, she agreed quietly. Today. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Valth cleared his throat. Yes. Well, exemplary performance, Cadet Reeves, dismissed. We filed out in a daze. In the corridor, I heard fragments of conversation. Words like terrifying and unnatural, and did you see how fast she moved? Echoing off the metal walls. Keltor walked beside me, his sensory stalks drooping. I analyzed the footage from my shoulder camera, he said. During her first kill, the one where she dropped on the drone. And she wasn't breathing. I stopped walking. What do you mean she wasn't breathing? Humans breathe constantly. It's a biological necessity. They process oxygen continuously to fuel their absurd metabolisms. But for approximately 45 seconds during her approach and strike, Maya Reeves did not take a single breath. That's impossible. Yet she did it. Keltor's translator added a note of existential dread to his words. She voluntarily shut down a critical biological function to reduce noise. What kind of species can do that? I didn't have an answer. Word spread through the academy faster than a hull breach. By evening cycle, everyone knew about the human cadet who had massacred the training exercise. The stories grew with each telling, as stories do, until some versions had Maya taking down 50 drones single-handedly while Rix watched and ate snacks. But the core truth remained. She had been faster, quieter, and more lethal than any cadet in recent academy history. And she had made it look easy. I found myself in the commissary that evening, trying to process the day's events over a plate of nutrient paste that tasted like existential crisis. Keltor sat across from me, running calculations on his tablet with the obsessive focus of someone trying to find rational explanations for fundamentally irrational events. The humans call it persistence hunting, he said without looking up. I've been researching their planet. On Earth, before they developed advanced tools, they would chase prey animals for hours, sometimes days, until the prey literally died from exhaustion. That sounds made up. I wish it was. There are documented cases of humans tracking animals for over 26 hours continuously. The prey would run, hide, rest. The human would just keep coming, never stopping, never giving up, until the prey's heart gave out from stress and fatigue. I pushed my nutrient paste away. Suddenly, I wasn't hungry anymore. And that's not even the frightening part, Keltor continued, his voice dropping to a frequency usually reserved for discussing cosmic horrors. The frightening part is that humans consider this normal. They have marathons, recreational events where they run for 42 kilometers just for fun. Their biology is optimized for endless endurance. They overheat slower than almost any other species. They can function on minimal rest. And they have this thing, this absolutely horrifying thing called a second wind, where if you push them hard enough, their bodies just decide to ignore exhaustion entirely and keep going. Why are you telling me this? Because we're in a military academy, Keltor said, finally looking up at me. And Maya Reeves just demonstrated that humans are really, really good at killing things. The commissary doors opened. Maya walked in, still wearing her training uniform, and the ambient noise level dropped by half. She either didn't notice or didn't care, moving through the space with that unsettling predator grace to grab a meal tray. I watched her load up her plate. The portions were enormous, 3 times what I would eat, and she added supplements from the high-performance athlete section. She noticed me staring and changed direction, heading toward our table. Mind if I sit? She asked. What do you say to that? No, please don't. You terrify me on a fundamental biological level. Sure, I managed. She sat, began eating with efficient speed, and smiled at our obvious discomfort. Relax. I'm not going to attack you in the commissary. That would be rude. That would be murder, Keltor corrected, his translator barely managing to convey his tone of academic pedantry through the waves of nervousness. Also rude, Maya agreed cheerfully. She pointed at Keltor's tablet. What are you reading? Research on human hunting patterns, he admitted, trying to understand today's exercise. Ah. She took another bite, chewed thoughtfully. Yeah, that's pretty standard stuff for Earth, although usually we're hunting animals, not robots. Less circuitry, more blood. The way she said blood made my survival instincts start composing resignation letters. The other cadets are calling you Death Whisper, I heard myself say. Maya paused mid-bite. Really? After today's performance? Yes. The name is spreading quite rapidly through social networks. She considered this, then shrugged. Could be worse. Could have been scary murder human or something. Give them time, Keltor muttered. Maya laughed. Actually laughed. A warm sound that seemed completely at odds with the lethal efficiency we'd witnessed earlier. Look, I know I freaked everyone out today, but honestly, this is all pretty normal for humans in combat situations. We're just wired differently than most species. You held your breath for 45 seconds while stalking prey, Keltor pointed out. Free divers back home can hold their breath for over 10 minutes, Maya countered. 45 seconds is nothing. 10 minutes? I repeated weakly. Static apnea record is actually over 11 minutes now, I think. Or it was before I left Earth. She noticed our expressions and added, Humans are weird. We know we're weird. We just forget that other species aren't used to our particular brand of weird. So, this, I gestured vaguely at her, is normal human capability? More or less. I mean, I've trained for combat specifically, but most humans could do what I did today with enough practice. It's not special. It's just human. Keltor made a sound like grinding gears. If this is standard human performance, I shudder to imagine what your elite soldiers are capable of. Maya's smile took on a different quality. Less friendly, more professional. You really don't want to meet our elite soldiers. Trust me. The conversation died after that. Maya finished her meal, wished us a pleasant evening with what seemed like genuine friendliness, and left. The noise level in the commissary immediately returned to normal. Well, Keltor said eventually, this is going to be an interesting year. That might have been the understatement of the century. The next morning brought new horrors, which at the Academy was basically standard operating procedure. Commander Valth assembled us in Training Hall 6, a cavernous space with reinforced walls and medical stations positioned at strategic intervals. Never a good sign when they prepared the medical stations before telling you what you'd be doing. Today, Valth announced, his scales flickering through shades of administrative concern, you will participate in close-quarters combat evaluations, hand-to-hand, no weapons, no equipment, just you and your opponent. A collective groan rippled through the assembled cadets. Close quarters meant bruises, fractures, and the special kind of humiliation that comes from getting your appendages tied into knots by someone with better training. Matches will be random assignment, Valth continued, consulting his tablet. 3-minute rounds, victory by submission, incapacitation, or points. Medical staff is standing by. Again, never reassuring when they emphasize the medical staff. The first few matches were predictable enough. A Thorian grappler versus a Zentarii striker. A Krillian brawler against another Krillian brawler, which mostly involved a lot of carapace crunching and aggressive posturing. Standard stuff. Then Valth called out the next pairing, and the universe's twisted sense of humor struck again. Cadet Torvin versus Cadet Reeves. I knew Torvin. Everyone knew Torvin. He was a Vagrian, built like a biological tank, with 4 arms thick as support beams and a hide that could shrug off small arms fire. He stood nearly 3 meters tall and massed, probably 300 kilograms. His species had evolved on a high-gravity world where everything tried to kill everything else, and they'd survived by becoming effectively unkillable themselves. He was also, despite his intimidating appearance, a genuinely decent individual who volunteered at youth centers and wrote poetry in his spare time. But right now, looking at the 100-pound human walking toward him across the training mat, he seemed uncertain. I do not wish to harm you, Torvin rumbled, his deep voice carrying genuine concern. Perhaps we should request a different matching. Maya stepped onto the mat, rolling her shoulders in that preparatory way of hers. Don't worry about it, big guy. I'm tougher than I look. You are very small, Torvin observed, stating the obvious with the tact of someone trying to be diplomatic. Size isn't everything. Maya dropped into a ready stance, loose and relaxed. Come on, give me your best shot. Valth raised his hand. Standard rules apply. Begin. Torvin moved with surprising speed for his size, closing the distance in 2 massive strides. His strategy was obvious. Use his reach advantage to control the engagement, grab the human, and gently restrain her until she submitted. Clean, simple, honorable. Maya wasn't there. She'd slipped sideways, inside his guard, moving with that water-like fluidity we'd seen in Sector 7. Torvin adjusted, swinging a massive arm to intercept, but she dropped beneath it, her body somehow folding at angles that looked anatomically questionable. Then she was behind him. Torvin spun, trying to track her movement, his combat training telling him to protect his center of mass. Maintain distance. Don't let the smaller opponent get close. Too late. Maya jumped, actually jumped onto his back, her legs wrapping around his torso, her arms snaking around his neck, in a configuration that my tactical database unhelpfully identified as a rear naked choke. Torvin reached back, trying to grab her, but she'd positioned herself perfectly in his blind spot. His forearms flailed, powerful enough to bend steel, completely unable to reach the human clinging to him like some sort of terrifying backpack. Submit, Maya said calmly, her voice barely strained despite Torvin's attempts to shake her loose. I cannot, Torvin gasped, his pride warring with his rapidly diminishing oxygen supply. Vagrians didn't need to breathe as frequently as humans, but they still needed to breathe eventually. Your call. Maya adjusted her grip, and Torvin's movements became sluggish. 5 seconds later, he tapped out. Maya released immediately, dropped to the mat, and offered Torvin a hand up. He stared at it for a moment, his breathing labored, confusion written across his broad features. Good match, Maya said. You're strong. If you'd caught me, I'd have been in serious trouble. Torvin accepted her hand. Let her help him up despite their massive size difference. You are very fast. Thanks. You've got good instincts. Just need to work on tracking faster opponents. The exchange was polite, professional, completely normal. Meanwhile, every other cadet in the room was recalculating their threat assessments of humans from mildly concerning to absolutely terrifying. Keltor leaned over to me. She just choked out a Vagrian. I saw. A Vagrian. They have redundant cardiovascular systems. You can't choke them out. Apparently you can. This violates several biological principles I considered fundamental to reality. The matches continued. Maya won her next 3 bouts in similarly efficient fashion. Against a Morphidian bruiser, she used his own momentum to send him crashing into the mat. Against a Zentarii speed fighter who should have been able to match her quickness, she demonstrated that humans apparently had this thing called feinting, where they'd fake a movement to provoke a reaction, then exploit the opening. Against a Thorian, the wrestler with twice her mass, she did something with his joints that made medical staff rush over with regeneration gel. By lunch cycle, everyone was talking about her. By evening cycle, the betting pools had started. By the next morning, Death Whisper wasn't just a nickname anymore. It was a warning. 3 days into the evaluation week, Valth introduced live ammunition exercises. We assembled at the firing range, a kilometers-long facility designed for everything from precision shooting to full-scale combat scenarios. The air smelled like ozone and gun oil, a combination that usually made me feel focused and ready. Today, it just made me nervous. Long-range marksmanship, Valth explained. Targets at 500, 1,000, and 1,500 meters. You'll have 10 shots at each distance. Scores will be compiled and ranked. Standard stuff. I was decent at distance shooting. Not exceptional, but competent enough to avoid embarrassment. Maya approached the firing line with a rifle that looked comically oversized in her hands. Human proportions were all wrong for most galactic standard weapons. Too small, too fragile, too squishy. She settled into position, adjusted the scope, and began her breathing cycle. That same controlled pattern from the drone exercise. In, out, hold. Her heart rate, visible on the biometric displays they made us wear, dropped from its usual rapid human pace to something almost calm. First shot, center mass on the 5 to 100 meter target. Second shot, same result. She worked through the sequence with mechanical efficiency, never rushing, never hesitating. When the scores posted, Maya ranked third overall, respectable but not alarming. Some cadets actually looked relieved. Then we moved to dynamic shooting. Moving targets, Valth announced. Combat scenario simulation. Engage hostiles, avoid civilians. Time limit, 3 minutes. The range transformed, holographic projections materializing into a mock urban environment. Targets would pop up randomly. Some enemy combatants, some innocent bystanders. Hit the wrong one, and you lost points. Hit the right ones, and you scored based on accuracy and speed. I went first. Managed a decent run. 14 targets engaged. 2 misses. No civilian casualties. Keltor followed, his superior sensors giving him an edge on target identification. Other cadets cycled through with varying degrees of success. Maya's turn came. She stepped into the scenario zone, rifle ready, and something about her posture changed. More alert, more focused. Like someone had flipped a switch from normal person to active threat. The simulation started. Targets began appearing. What happened next would be analyzed in tactical classes for the next 2 years. Maya moved through the scenario like she'd memorized it, except that was impossible because the targets were randomized. She flowed from position to position, firing on the move with a fluid grace that made it look choreographed. No hesitation, no wasted movement. Each shot rang out with metronomic precision. Hostile target. Bang. Down. Civilian hologram. Skip. Hostile behind cover. Bang. Down. Multiple targets. Bang. 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 All down. She never stopped moving. The rifle might as well have been an extension of her body, tracking targets with predatory accuracy while she sprinted, slid, rolled, and somehow managed to reload without breaking stride. The simulation ended. Maya lowered her weapon, cleared the chamber, and turned to face Valth with an expression of mild interest. "Acceptable performance, sir?" Valth's scales had gone completely white. Check the scores. The display updated. 37 targets engaged. 37 hits. 0 misses. 0 civilian casualties. Completion time, 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Someone in the observation deck swore in a language I didn't recognize. "That's not possible," a cadet whispered. "The targeting algorithms don't allow for that level of accuracy while mobile." "Tell that to the human," another responded. Valth collected himself with visible effort. "Cadet Reeves, where did you learn to shoot like that?" Maya shrugged. "Earth. Most humans learn basic marksmanship. It's pretty common." "Most humans," Valth repeated slowly, "can engage 37 targets with perfect accuracy while performing acrobatic maneuvers?" "Well, no. Most humans aren't military trained. But the ones who are? Yeah, pretty much. We've been throwing projectiles at things for thousands of years. We're good at it." Keltor made that grinding gears sound again. He'd been making it a lot lately. "Your species weaponized mathematics and applied it to small metal objects traveling at supersonic speeds." "When you put it that way, it sounds complicated," Maya said. "Really, it's just point and click. Point and click. I muttered. She makes it sound like a computer interface. To humans? Perhaps it is? Keltor suggested darkly. The week progressed with similar patterns. Every evaluation, every test, every scenario designed to push cadets to their limits, Maya approached with that same calm efficiency. She wasn't the strongest cadet, wasn't the fastest in straight-line speed, wasn't the smartest in academic testing, but she was the most consistently lethal across every category. And that distinction was starting to worry people. On day 6, Command called a special assembly. The entire cadet corps gathered in the main auditorium, hundreds of students from dozens of species, all wondering why we'd been pulled from training mid-cycle. Admiral Crescent took the stage. She was a decorated Thorian officer, with more combat ribbons than I had appendages, and her presence meant something serious was happening. Cadets, she began, her voice amplified across the space. We have a developing situation. A merchant vessel has been seized by raiders in the outer fringe. Standard protocol would be to dispatch a rapid response team, but Command has decided to use this as a live training exercise. Excited murmurs rippled through the crowd. Live operations were rare in academy training. Dangerous, yes, but the kind of experience that could launch a career. A strike team will be assembled from top-performing cadets across all evaluation categories. This team will assist in the rescue operation under direct supervision of command officers. She began reading names. Elite students, the ones who'd been top of class in everything. Keltor's name was called. So was Torvin's. A few others I recognized as exceptional performers. Then, Cadet Maya Reeves. The auditorium went silent. Every optical sensor, eye stalk, and visual organ turned toward the human sitting, calmly in Section 14, Row 8. Maya stood. Yes, ma'am. You've demonstrated exceptional combat capability across multiple disciplines. Command believes your skills would be valuable for this operation. Report to Briefing Room 1 at 0600 tomorrow. Understood, ma'am. That night, the Academy's social networks exploded with speculation. Humans in combat. Real combat. Not training exercises or simulations, but actual hostile engagement against actual enemies who would be trying to actually kill them. I found Maya in the rec room, of all places, watching some human entertainment program on her personal device. She looked up when I approached, smiled that friendly smile that my brain still struggled to reconcile with her combat performance. Hey, you're on the strike team too, right? I settled into a nearby seat. Yes, Keltor is quite excited. He has never participated in live operations. Should be interesting. She returned her attention to the screen, where humans were doing something incomprehensible involving a ball and a lot of running. Are you not concerned? I asked. This is actual combat, with actual weapons, against actual enemies. Maya paused the program. Sure, I'm a little nervous. Anyone who isn't nervous before combat is either lying or dangerously overconfident. But I've trained for this. We all have. You have trained more than most, I observed. Your performance this week has been extraordinary. Thanks. She seemed genuinely pleased by the compliment. Honestly, I'm just trying to do my best. Same as everyone else. Your best would be considered superhuman in most species. She laughed at that. Technically, I am human. So, yeah, but I get what you mean. Her expression turned more serious. Look, I know I've freaked people out. That wasn't my intention. I'm not trying to show off or intimidate anyone. It's just how I operate. Your species operates at a level most others consider extreme. Maybe. But from my perspective, everyone else is just operating at a level we consider cautious. She leaned back, considering her words. Humans push boundaries. It's what we do. Sometimes, That makes us reckless. Sometimes, it makes us effective. Tomorrow, hopefully it makes us useful. The transport left at 0500, a sleek military corvette built for speed and stealth. The strike team assembled in the briefing room, 12 cadets and 4 command officers, including Captain Rex, a grizzled Krillian veteran with a reputation for bringing everyone home alive. Simple rescue op, Rex explained, gesturing at the tactical display. Raiders have seized a civilian merchant, 23 hostages, 6 confirmed hostiles, possibly more. We breach, neutralize threats, secure hostages. Questions? Maya raised her hand. Rules of engagement, sir? Hostiles are armed and dangerous. You're authorized to use lethal force if necessary. But, he emphasized, fixing her with a hard stare, this is a rescue operation, not an extermination. We're here to save lives, not take them unnecessarily. Understood, sir. The approach took 3 hours. 3 hours of tension, equipment checks, and the kind of nervous energy that comes from knowing you're about to put your Rex training to its ultimate test. I sat next to Keltor, who was cycling through breathing exercises to manage his anxiety. Across from us, Maya sat perfectly still, eyes half closed, in some sort of meditative state. Is she sleeping? Keltor whispered. I think she is conserving energy, I replied. Humans have this ability to lower their metabolic rate deliberately. Of course they do. We arrived on target. The merchant vessel hung in space like a wounded animal, lights flickering, distress beacon broadcasting on all frequencies. Our corvette matched trajectory and sealed against their docking port. Breach in 30 seconds, Rex announced. Team Alpha, you're first through. Bravo team provides support. Cadet Reeves, you're on Alpha with me. Maya's eyes opened. The meditative calm vanished, replaced by that focused intensity I'd seen on the firing range. She checked her weapon, a compact assault rifle modified for human proportions, and moved into position near the breach point. 10 seconds. My heart rate spiked. Beside me, Keltor's sensory stalks were vibrating with barely controlled fear. This was real. No training safeties. No medical staff standing by with regeneration gel. 5 seconds. Maya's breathing had slowed to that eerie controlled pattern. Her weapon was up, ready, every muscle coiled. Breach! The door exploded inward. Rex went through first, his armored bulk filling the corridor. Maya followed half a second later, moving with that terrifying speed, her rifle tracking for targets. Chaos erupted. Raiders opened fire from entrenched positions, energy bolts tearing through the air. Rex's shields absorbed the hits, buying precious seconds for the team to deploy. Then, Maya moved. She flowed through the combat zone like water, finding cracks. Impossibly fast, impossibly precise. I saw her drop one raider with a controlled burst, pivot without breaking stride, engage a second target. Her movements were economical, efficient, no wasted motion. A raider popped up from cover, weapon trained on Rex's exposed flank. Maya's rifle barked once. The raider dropped. Alpha team, push forward, Rex commanded, advancing down the corridor. We followed, but honestly, we were just trying to keep up. Maya had already cleared half the corridor, moving from cover to cover with practiced ease, her rifle speaking its lethal language. The operation lasted 18 minutes from breach to all clear. 18 minutes of controlled violence, tactical precision, and the kind of teamwork that only comes from training and trust. When the dust settled, all hostages were secured. All raiders were neutralized. 0 friendly casualties. Maya stood in the cargo bay, weapon lowered, breathing slightly elevated, but otherwise looking like she'd just finished a brisk jog rather than a combat operation. Captain Rex approached her, his expression unreadable behind his helmet. "Good work, Cadet." "Thank you, sir." "That was some impressive shooting. Where'd you learn to move like that?" "Earth, sir. Standard infantry training." Rex's translator conveyed what might have been a laugh. "If that's standard for humans, I'm glad you're on our side." The return journey was subdued. The reality of what we'd done, what we'd participated in, settled over the team like a heavy blanket. We'd engaged in actual combat. We'd used lethal force. Some of us, myself included, were still processing that fact. Maya sat in the same spot as before, back in that meditative state, processing the operation in whatever way humans processed such things. Keltor leaned over. "She saved Rex's life. Did you see that shot? The raider in the alcove?" "I saw." 300 meters. Moving target. Hostile environment. One shot. His translator added notes of disbelief to each phrase. She made it look routine. For her, perhaps it was. Back at the academy, word of the operation spread instantly. The strike team that had performed flawlessly. The hostages rescued without casualties. The human cadet, who'd fought with the precision of a veteran. By evening, Death Whisper had moved from nickname to legend. Maya seemed uncomfortable with the attention. I found her in the observation deck late that night, staring out at the stars with an expression I couldn't quite read. "Congratulations," I said, approaching cautiously. "Your performance today was extraordinary." She glanced over, smiled slightly. "Thanks. Team effort, though. Everyone did their part." "You did more than your part." "Maybe." She turned back to the stars. "You know what's funny? Back on Earth, I'm pretty average. Good at my job, sure, but nothing special. Here, everyone treats me like I'm some sort of super soldier. By galactic standards, you are." "Yeah, I'm starting to realize that." She was quiet for a moment. "It's weird being the scary one. Growing up, we had stories about aliens, advanced species with incredible technology and abilities that would make humans look primitive. Then I join the academy and find out we're the ones everyone's nervous about." "Your species is naturally suited for combat," I offered. "That capability generates concern." "Fear, you mean?" "Perhaps." Maya sighed. "I don't want people to be afraid of me. I just want to do good work, graduate, serve honorably. But every time I perform up to my capabilities, I see people looking at me like I'm dangerous." "You are dangerous," I pointed out. "You eliminated targets today with extraordinary efficiency. Those were raiders, hostiles. They'd have killed those hostages." Her voice carried an edge now. "I did what needed to be done. I am not criticizing, merely observing." She relaxed slightly. "Sorry. It's been a long day." A pause. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you trust me? Honestly?" I considered the question. Did I trust the human who could move like a ghost and shoot like a targeting computer? The one who'd choked out a Vagrian and cleared a combat zone in minutes? "Yes," I said, and realized I meant it. "You have demonstrated honor and restraint. You use your abilities to protect, not harm unnecessarily. That is the definition of a good soldier." Maya smiled, genuine warmth in the expression. "Thanks. That means a lot." We stood in companionable silence, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the galaxy continued spinning, full of species and cultures and conflicts. And somewhere in that vast complexity, humanity had found its place, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as the beings who whispered death when necessary and extended hands in friendship when possible. The next morning, Valth called another assembly. The Cadet Corps gathered, buzzing with energy after the successful operation. "Evaluation week is concluded," Valth announced. Final rankings have been compiled. I will now announce the top performers. He read through the list. Keltor placed 8th overall, which delighted him. Torvin made 6th. Other familiar names filled out the rankings. And in first place, with the highest combined scores in Academy history, Cadet Maya Reeves. The applause was genuine, if tinged with healthy respect. Maya accepted the recognition with her characteristic humility, a brief nod, and a quiet thank you. Later, as we filed out, I overheard 2 younger cadets talking. Death Whisper, one breathed, watching Maya walk past. She really earned that name. You think she'll make special operations? Are you kidding? She'll probably end up commanding them. Maya seemed oblivious to the whispers, chatting with Rix about something mundane, laughing at some joke only they understood. Just another cadet. Just another student trying to make it through the academy. Except she wasn't. She was humanity's introduction to galactic military culture, the first of her kind to demonstrate what humans could do when pushed. The vanguard of a species that the galaxy was only beginning to understand. And if one human could perform at this level, what would happen when thousands arrived? Tens of thousands? What would humanity's military forces look like when fully integrated into galactic defense networks? The implications were staggering, and maybe a little terrifying. But as I watched Maya disappear around a corner, still laughing at Rix's terrible jokes, I felt something else too. Hope. Because if humans were this capable, this dedicated, this honorable in their application of force, then maybe, just maybe, the galaxy had gained protectors rather than conquerors. Time would tell. But for now, Death Whisper had passed her first tests with flying colors, and the galaxy would never be quite the same.